So stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be throwing a couple of the regular trading days on there. So when we trade between Monday and Friday, I'm going to be throwing those videos on there. Some of those, not all of them, just from time to time, just so you guys can kind of see what we do in the community and how we do things. All right. But let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. Let me put this here, toggle this up. All right, boom. All right, so we're gonna do US30. US30 is usually what we trade. That's our main pair that we focus on. If any of our students have any questions, then we usually, we'll see what they want for a pair that they want us to analyze. But for the most part, we do focus only on US30. So that's what we're gonna focus on today. All right, so US30 obviously has been very, very bullish overall. Um, literally for months now. For months now. Yeah, we've had a couple of pullbacks, but throughout the entire time, it's just been going bullish, bullish, bullish. Right now, we got to this point of a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of holdback where the market doesn't really know if it wants to pull back down to the downside or if it wants to continue going higher and higher. With everything that's happening with gold going up higher and things like that, it's kind of creating like an opposite flip on here where everybody's just going gold. But ever since kind of gold stabilized a little bit, we're seeing like a small pullback on the US30. So hopefully we get some nice sales coming up. It hasn't, I mean, the market's been great, but I don't like when the market just keeps going higher and higher because there's not really points that we can aim for when it comes to take profits. But if we get sales, that would be very nice because it's a lot cleaner right now. At least for US30, is a lot cleaner to see those sell patterns. But yeah, I won't take no much of your time, so let's get right into it. Um, First, we're gonna see the daily, what the daily's doing, and the way I break down my strategy, it works for both swing trading and scalping. Usually on Sundays, it's more like a swing trade kind of analysis where we're pretty much trying to see where the market's gonna go throughout the entire week, just to give us a perspective of where to keep our eyes open for any buys or any sales. So for the most part, we're looking bullish overall. On the daily, we're looking bullish. So we'll take our notes here. We'll put our daily. We're looking bullish. And we're going to see what our 4 hour is giving us, which is probably the same thing. Where'd my text box go? Let me bring it back over here. All right, put that text box OD far. So this is where it gets a little interesting. On the 4 hour, overall, we have a massive push since October 23rd. But throughout the last week, it's just kind of been in this little consolidation form slash sales. So if we put the line on here, this trend line, we kind of been on like a somewhat for the last couple of weeks, or I would say from the 29th, so like let's say like about a week ago, it's kind of been going on sales. So let's just keep an eye out for that. I mean, I do like that just because of the fact that the market is a little bit overbought. So I would love to see, damn, I would love to see a little more push down on the market to get those cleaner entries. Lately, we've been getting a little bit of those choppy entries, risky entries, but would love to see some sales in the game. But yeah, so the 4 hour is going to be somewhat bearish, so we'll put bearish. And I say somewhat because on the bigger picture, yes, we're going up. But if you look at the last week, it's just kind of been going down, making lower lows, lower lows. So yeah, we just got to keep an eye out for that. Part of our strategy is we want two time frames in sync. So when it comes to swing trading, it hasn't given us like a good view if we wanted to hold like a trade for the rest of the week. We don't really have a good view. At least according to my strategy, we have to have two time frames in sync. In this case, the daily and the 4 hour, which is the time frames for swing trading, they're not in sync, so I wouldn't be interested in taking any swing trades. Now, because we trade on these smaller time frames, we don't really look at that. We focus more on what the 1 hour and the M15 is doing, but we go on a day-to-day basis. All right. So let's just mark a couple areas of interest that we're looking for. So this first red candle here is going to be our first 4 hour and 1 hour demand, which price kind of already activated from. So price kind of touched here and missed it by like maybe 20, $30 and missed it. But I am gonna count that as a touch here on the demand zone. So we're gonna take this out of here. How we like to look is we like to look at the market going to a demand zone, buying from a demand zone, then going to a supply zone, selling off the supply zone, and then so on and so forth. Now, if price decides to break under this demand zone that we had just up that I deleted, if price decides to go down and it doesn't respect it, then we, instead of looking for a supply zone, we look for another demand zone, which would be this bottom one down here. So this is the next one that we're looking for. If price decides to break a lot lower, we'd be chasing price to the 46,850. All right, so we have to see what the market's going to give us throughout the week. There is a lot of high news this week, which is good and bad. It's good because there's going to be a lot of volume. So we definitely should be seeing a lot of movement this week. But there is a lot of fake outs. Fake outs because one day the market could push up like crazy, then the next day it just completely just breaks lower lows, and then you think you're gonna take sales, and then it just when there's a lot of red folder news and high impact news, it kind of throws off the market a little bit. So we'll just keep an eye out for this week. But I am excited for this week. Can't wait to see how much volume it brings. Hopefully, we get some nice trades in here, and yeah, make up for some big losses that we took last month. But yeah, so as long as we stick to the plan, we should be good. So again, I'm going to be looking for this demand zone for price to go to this demand zone. So hopefully it keeps continuing those sales. That'd be very, very lovely if price continues to go down on the sales. So right now we need to wait to see if price breaks this area up here, this little higher high. If price decides to break it up, then we would have to consider buys. But as long as it keeps respecting it, I'm liking it. So right here we have one high. We have another lower high here, and then we have another lower high right now that it's creating. So as long as we stay like that, we stay going, we'd probably, as long as it respects this area, we'd probably take some sales from there. Um, Probably something like this, hopefully aiming for this demand zone down here around the 850. And of course, we have to see, we have to just wait for the market to give us more action so we can determine a good entry. But overall, for a swing trade, this would be a nice trade here, nice trade setup if the price continues to go down. But again, we do have to keep an eye out because this could just be consolidating before price decides to take flight. So got to be careful with that because price could literally do this. Where's my box? I have this box here. I want to show you guys something. So we're kind of in like a somewhat consolidating here. So this is why we got to be careful because although it looks perfect for sales, price will pull down with how everything that's going crazy right now in the US. Price could do one of these, right? So it breaks above this high or this lower high. If it pulls higher and it pulls back, then we'd be looking for buys instead. All right, but we would have to see what price does first. So we want to see if price is going to respect this zone here, the 47,750 zone. If it does, then we'd probably be looking for sales all week long, all the way to 46,850. Again, this can also happen in like a day or two because the crazy like news that's happening right now and just all the red folders that are happening, in one day we could have this entire movement. But for right now, it's still Sunday. The market just opened. So we're not, we can't anticipate a movement that hasn't happened, but this is what we're looking at. So if price decides to break and make a new high, we're going to be looking for buys during the week. But I would love to see price continuing to go down, at least this demand zone, and then we can determine where we're going. So that's pretty much it. What I have for the US30 analysis with the community every single morning, we go over what we're going to do for that day. Again, this is more like a swing trade idea. When it comes to any scalping, we have to look at the markets every single day, depending on what it's giving us. We usually aim for anywhere from 100 to 200, 250 points per day if we can catch it. But lately we've been getting very good with the 100 points. So that's usually what we aim for. We aim for at least 100 points every single day, get in, get out. Especially the market's been a little bit risky. So just stay tuned for that. like I said, any calls that we do in the week, I'll try to upload a few on YouTube, but usually it's exclusive, where we go more in depth in our strategy and we try to determine, we have little tricks that we show on there where we try to determine where price is going to go to under smaller time frames, but it's just too much to go over. Maybe I'll put one of those calls this week so you guys can see. All right, but that's pretty much it for US 30. All right, you guys stay tuned. Stay tuned for the week. Hopefully, it's going to be a great week. Take a screenshot of this. I guarantee you, if price respects here, I guarantee you'll see it here by the end of the week. All right, mark my words.